please put your phones on silence, and we'll stand and do the pledge of allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we have the minutes of August 5th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as mailed? Discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Discussion and approval of the claims.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item 3, we have the personnel report. I'll pass that around for signatures.
I move on it.
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We don't have an initiation of hiring today, so go by that. Item 4 is public bidders. We have the approval of a resolution for a property sale, partial 036600. Is there a motion?
We set the hearing date for the 26th day of August at 10:15.
Second. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item B is the lifting of a tax suspension for BL.
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item C is a discussion of authorization to sign a contract. This is between CF Industries and Nutriflow. Dennis, you want to talk about that, what that means?
All this is just, the county is now responsible for anything. It's increasing the high-quality jobs program, tax incentives by $9 million. This was negotiated between CF and the state of Iowa, the IEDA, yeah. And it's a formality that we have to sign, just like we had to sign the contract with the state when they did the whole incentive program with CF. We're the community, which is Woodbury County, so it does not affect us at all, but it's still required to be done.
Okay.
And all you're doing is authorize the chair to sign this.
I move it.
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 5 is planning and zoning. Mr. Coelho is not around yet. Let's move on to item 6 then, which is the county engineer. And we've got a time set there too. We have to recess for a while.
Well, we get started anyway.
Well, let me take up a little time for a minute. 100 on Barker Avenue, between 110th and 120th.
Yes.
Could you take a look at that? Okay. Brian didn't complain something.
Roughness.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Dan's only working one day this week, but we'll get somebody out of that.
That's, when is his retirement?
Officially September 6th, but he has 2.5 weeks of vacation in the books, so he'll be gone the last 2 weeks of August.
Have you got a replacement yet?
We've got it, the internal postings are out now. I think it's likely that his spot will be filled internally. And the unfortunate thing is, we need that same guy down at CF Industries.
Is that right? Can't duplicate him, huh?
Wish I could phone him right now though, because,
You still got your CDL license? You might have.
well, I know he got to run a motor grader anyway, so, you know, we do that because most of our guys have to do both the truck and equipment. So. But, believe me, they don't want me up there. I plow snow really well, but you gotta remember the roads underneath are frozen.
It's hard, right?
So it's harder to make a mess. It's relatively easy to, well, I shouldn't say easy, but I can knock snow off of the road.
With a shovel.
Yeah, it's, well, even with a motor grader, I've done a lot of plowing. You know, as they say with a doctor, first do no harm.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to harm a frozen road.
Get Barker for me.
Yeah, we'll get somebody headed that way. The first item I have for today is the approval of final payment voucher for our 117 project. This was our PCC pavement project down on Boone pavement.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
It's on the third page, George,
Okay.
down in the middle signature area that you would need to sign. I'm sorry, I forgot to stamp that one.
No problem.
The next item we have is the approval of our gravel contract for our stockpile of materials. This is taking gravel to 11 locations. One thing we're doing this year, and I'll be asking Dennis for some money, because Dennis is over here today. This is to replace some of the gravel that was taken out of our stockpile last year to take care of Allison 235th and 225th. We've consumed over 6,000 tons of gravel out of that stockpile that hasn't been available in the district where the roads also have need. We're hauling about 3,000 tons of that directly to the road this year. Another thing we're doing to save money is we're doing the stockpiling. We have the dozer out there that'll be pushing the gravel up into the stockpile that we use. That's saving us 75 cents a ton.
That's huge, that's a lot.
Well, it's huge. We still have an increase in cost this year though, just because of diesel costs and trucking. But it kept that increase from being larger. You know, we're within maybe 20 to 25 cents a ton in most of our stockpiles. With those changes made, we would have seen increases in the neighborhood of 80 cents to $1 otherwise.
Wow.
This year, we're hanging pretty tough at, the total is, about 105,000 tons, which is what we ordered last year, so we were able to keep in the same area. We also have about 20,000 tons of broken concrete to crush and, convert into road aggregate and erosion stone, so we'll be letting a contract for that here later this fall.
Do we do that ourselves, crushing, or do you?
No,
like you said, we let a
we
contract.
take quotes from, there's 3 people that do that work. Schmillen, I can't think of the name of the folks at Fort Dodge, and then Cap Recycling. Cap is based here in Sioux City. Schmillen is from, I believe, Plymouth County, and then the other contractor is Fort Dodge. They all have the mobile crushing units that can come in and take care of our stockpiles for us.
Sure.
But I recommend approval of the contract at $788,030.
Okay.
I'd move it.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
The second one is for crushing and putting up material at our Little Sioux Park sand pit. That is for $187,500. There's 30,000 tons that will be stockpiled in place there. This year, we're not making any de-icing sand. We're strictly putting up gravel in the stockpile. There will be some waste fill sand material that will be created in the course of this work. All of the material coming to Mobile and our Concord Township piles comes out of Little Sioux Park. So the total that we'll be taking out of there this year is about 52,000 tons. At the rate we're going, we're probably looking between 5 and 7 years of operations to expand that pit to the point where conservation would like to convert it to a fishery resource. So we're making some pretty good Gulfstead.
Yes, you are.
The contractor this year again is going to be required to outlet all the water to the area around the shooting range. This was found to be helpful to our neighbor across the road in keeping his ponds up.
Good.
This year we'll be taking the water down further though. We've also put in place the monitoring wells that we discussed last year. We have 2 of those in place now. We've been monitoring the levels at the Little Sioux Sand Pit and at the Peters Pit. Little Sioux Sand Pit is a fishing lake in Little Sioux Park. We've been monitoring those water levels since last summer. So this year we should accumulate some pretty good data about what the groundwater and surface water are doing and how they're affected by our pit operations.
Do you have any preliminary information on that? How that seems to be,
Well, we won't know until we really start to draw it down, George. We did not have the monitoring wells in place last year. Right now our water levels are looking pretty good out there with pretty flush June and July with the rains we've had. We're higher than we've been in the past, but I can get the board a spreadsheet next week showing where we're at.
right, okay.
And how we can show an average. I think we only probably need 1 reading for most of the months until we got to spring where we really start to see the increase in water levels. The Little Sioux River has water in it now, and that's probably the biggest effect. Last
Absolutely,
year,
that'll bring it up.
you couldn't drag a canoe through it
No,
hardly.
it's so low.
Right,
Okay, then we need to have an approval of this,
of this production for Little Sioux Park.
Move it. Second.
okay? Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. What do we have here?
We have a permit to work in the right of way within the city of Milwaukee. The city has granted permission to the Lawton Bronson School and football team to have a fundraising auction. It'll be August 23rd. Our contribution to this project will be for we're providing barricades so that the road can be closed. It'll be about a 2 to 3 hour event in downtown Milwaukee.
Move it.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Same sign.
The next items I have are sub time. I saw John come to the.
Yeah,
so-
we'll come back to you. John, you wanna?
Am I up?
Yes, you are.
Apologize for being tardy.
All right.
Only agenda item I have before you today is the approval of a final plat for Carla Marsh, who is taking 5 independent parcels about 2.5 miles east of Smithland. They comprise a total of about 64 acres, and she's dividing those into 3 lots. One of the lots will be sold to, comprise of primarily timberland will be sold. Then she also wants to parcel off an existing building site and have another lot for potential residential development sometime in the future. The public hearing was held before the zoning commission, and they came up with several plat changes which are incorporated in the plat that we were presented. They also requested a paving agreement be executed. That has occurred. Staff recommendation is you approve the final plat in its final form and authorize your chairman to sign.
Move it.
Okay. Good. There's a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Do you have the original that I signed, or is this it here?
The original of the,
That
I've got the Mylar here.
Oh, the Mylar,
I'll put on the desk.
okay.
You can sign it after the meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Okay.
The other item back on secondary roads is time set for 20 after. We've got about 3 to 4 minutes. Maybe you could give us a little bit of an update, Mark, on the CF road.
Yeah, we're on the new CF Drive, which is the new road being constructed going into the permanent north plan. The road is pretty close up to grade, waiting installation of the water line. There will be a 6-inch main that will serve the new plant coming from the city water main. They need to bring that up 255th Street, county right of way, then cross our road alignment and take it up the shoulder of the new roadway. We need to do that before we put gravel in place.
All right, okay.
There's one other item that will be a pass-through expense. They have a small wetland area where the road embankment on CF's property is cutting off the drainage pattern. So they'll be draining with a 36-inch pipe, bringing that across our road. Basically, it'll be their expense for that 36-inch pipe. It's a bit of a tricky installation, it has to get under the water lines. It'll be insulated to protect problems with that water line in the future. So those are really the biggest outstanding issues holding us up on that road at this point in time. Last week we did have some problems on haul roads. They now are upwards of 900 employees per day in the construction zone. They're still bringing in a great deal of raw material. We just saw a super load go in yesterday. I think I counted 11 axles under that truck.
Wow.
And it was just a great big box. I mean, you couldn't see what was in it, but it was obviously a fairly heavy load.
Would that come in off the river?
No, that one came in on a truck.
On a truck?
Yeah, it was coming down Allison Avenue with an escort. You know, it was a permitted load, although another unpermitted crane came in and the scale boys had him across.
That's right.
Yeah,
Was it going to CF?
Yes, it was going to CF again, and they failed to call in advance for a permit.
Oh,
First thing the DOT enforcement people do is call our office, does so-and-so have a permit with you, and if they haven't made an application, no. And that's,
so what happens in that circumstance when that
they
happens?
write them a ticket.
Okay.
And basically, they pay, I think it's 20 cents a pound for every pound over 96,000 pounds.
Oh my
That's how the other fine added up to $23,000 for almost a 200,000 pound load. Yeah.
That's quite a fine.
It is costly for the lack of a $10 permit.
That's right.
Say how much is a permit?
Yeah.
So,
Who pays that? The shipper?
the trucking operation or the contractor.
That's a lose money deal.
It is. Well, in the case of the 200,000 pound load, they had actually hired a permitting company. So I believe it's the permitting company that's paying the bill. I got a call from their attorney. I can tell you a little about that story later. But they were inquiring about the process. And, you know, quite clearly states on the DOT permits, must obtain city and county permits to your destination. It's top line on it. And,
Somebody overlooked it.
all they have to do is call us,
Yeah. Somebody overlooked it.
or fax us, or email it. We have a number of methods that are out there so that they can get those requests into us. But getting back to the roads with, I have reports of between 3 and 4 inches of rain. With that additional traffic, we had some of those roads get a little choppy on us. They were not in good condition. We worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and again yesterday, trying to get them restored. We'll be continuing that work through the week. Part of our problem right now is that road bed underneath, between the chloride and all the gravel we've added. Yesterday, he was bringing up smoke. As he cut into some of that, it was almost as hard as concrete in some of those.
Is that right? Wow.
And it's really hard to break up that washboard pattern when the road gets that hard. We hauled water to it, and that did help him. We'll be chasing the work he gets done with dust control when the time comes. Last week was just one of those weeks where we just had to gut it out because, it was one of those weeks where nothing did work. Yeah, as fast as he would get it laid out, traffic was just tearing it up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything was soft enough that it was hard for him to really make any
How
progress.
many trucks per day do you think is going in there right now?
It's variable by the day. I'd have to ask performance staff, but you can't stand out on the road 5 minutes without a ready-mix truck going to some part of that plant. And from what I've observed, batch plant there at the pigment facility by the rest area is almost in constant production. So they are moving right along.
Wow, that's
They're- It's a huge operation.
Good.
I think we're
I think-
10:20 by my lunch.
Mine too. Let's go ahead and get into that.
Okay, the first item we have for today is the propane lighting. I do have some bid tabs. Well, she only gave me one copy, I'm sorry. I promised and I couldn't deliver. But it'll be just a price per ton anyway, so. The first one is from Johnson, or this will be a price per gallon, I'm sorry. This is from Johnson Propane of Battle Creek, Iowa. Their price is $1.33 per gallon. Last year, our price was $1.05. The next one is from Star Energy of Manson, Iowa. Their price is $1.54 per gallon. Finally, we have Sapp Brothers of Sioux City. Sapp Brothers price is $1.40 per gallon. I recommend award to Johnson Propane.
Move it.
Second,
Second?
discussion?
How many gallons?
49,200. We've added recently, the county treasurer has started to join our bid. This covers Prairie Hills, the conservation properties that have propane heat, as well as our sheds that are down on natural gas.
Okay, any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Emergency management and climbing hill is also part of that contract.
Okay, good.
We have a couple of minutes, see how it looks like. See, getting back to other construction, our Michigan Avenue Bridge, work on the south pier, the piling and stem are finished, so they're going to sheet piling, they're going to start construction of the north pier here soon. This is the bridge that we're using the precast sections on. Once the piers are in, the abutments will go very quickly. And then they'll be able to set those sections on, and get that road open for those folks back there. We're looking at that one perhaps middle of October. Work started on Bronson Bridge, we took the deck off of it yesterday. It's one of the most rotten decks our staff had ever seen.
Is that
They
right?
started to break it out. And we're studying what people are using as a detour route right now. I've had reports that they're using an unofficial detour at 200th and Emmett and have a request for dust control on that road. I usually wait a couple of weeks before I put dust control down anywhere just to see how traffic adjusts to the closure.
Right.
I haven't observed on that road the signs of really heavy traffic yet, but again, we'll be monitoring that for the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
If we need to, we will put out dust control. Our staff's been working on 180th Street. This would be from Buchanan to Charles, this area where Peterson Farms is at. We've also been putting gravel out there to give our operator enough material to get the road properly around. It's generated a couple of complaints because folks didn't realize we were putting quite that much effort into it. And going out doing prep work, trying to get his edges back. It leaves the road looking a little bit ugly until the gravel actually gets out there. So, we are trying to make improvements to that road. It's seen a lot of heavy truck traffic in the past couple of years since Peterson Farms expanded their operation over by Prairie Hills with that new cap operation. So,
Okay.
are we out of time?
I think we're good.
All right. Our next bids are on calcium chloride. We use this for winter snow removal. We mix it with our sand to help keep our pile from freezing and give us some low temperature punch out on the roads. Our first one is from Scottwood Industries. I don't know why I put my pocket knife away. Overland Park, Kansas. Last year, as I recall, we were $399 per ton. Scottwood's price is $599.60 per ton delivered to our facilities. Each of our 4 districts is looking at getting 1 semi-truck load. Our second quotation is from Jericho Services Incorporated of Indianola, Iowa, and their price is $420 per ton. I recommend award of the calcium chloride bid to Jericho for $420 per ton.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mark, did you have that budgeted for that amount of money or a higher cost than you did last year? How do you do that? Did you anticipate that or?
Roughly, yes.
Roughly.
Yeah. Last year, we didn't spend our whole budgeted amount.
Mhm.
I put in the same amount this year. It should cover what we need.
You should?
Over the course of the year, we're able to adjust what we order in blades. This item all comes out of our tools, materials, and supplies budget. Within all the line items in that, we adjust over the course of the year with what we buy
Okay.
for the other type supplies that we purchase.
So you have a little bit of flexibility here so that you don't go over.
I have a little bit within those line items.
Okay.
There's $197,000 to work with there. So generally, it's enough that I can cover the
Yeah.
pluses and minuses. We do tend to budget fairly generously for the propane. We plan on what our worst winter conditions are going to be.
Uh-huh.
But last year was as close as we've come to using 100% of our propane budget. I'll have my final figures for the year here shortly, but I know we were close with some of the.
Because we were awfully cold last year.
Yes, we were.
Well,
And
it spiked to $5 last year, didn't it?
it did, and we had our price locked in at $1.05 though. So that's one of the reasons that we do this,
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
to assure that we're in good shape, and we get our prices under contract quickly.
What's the latest with the American Slough?
We are working on the final plans for that now. We met with Ivan and Brian Friday, and we took a look at the preliminary the preliminary information in their final report. One of the bigger decisions the board's going to have to make with this is whether or not the wetland area is acquired on behalf of the Orton Slough, either paid for by the slough or whether it's levied against the county as a whole, looking at the fact that this area is going to be what we're developing for our filtration system. This design, just like the WERG grant, incorporates an infiltration system under that wetland, where basically you have 18 inches of soil above a tile system that during the normal rains, this is the 1 inch and under rains, the water gets there and it's pulled in by those tiles. So you've got that soil filtering that water before it discharges it into the open ditch. It's roughly going to take care of, as I recall, all but about 700 acres of the roughly 2,200, 2,300 acres that's coming there, because what's coming down Parker in that 3/8 ditch that runs parallel to I-29,
Right.
that will not go through that part of the system. But it'll have all the rock ditch downstream to help catch that silt. The problem we have with that is, Riyadhs have another 13 years on their CRP contract. But when that's over, if they no longer have an interest in keeping that ground in CRP, our infiltration system could be destroyed if that was put back in. It'd be very good tiled land, I'm sure they wouldn't do that, but that disturbance would make it less effective.
Right.
And this is one of the things that I want to just put out here today. This is one of the things that I will be putting in front of you in the final report is an estimate to acquire that ground. And then whether you want to include that in the levy on the Orton Slough property, or if you want to take the broader look that this is outletting water to Browns Lake. It's for the protection of Browns Lake, and as such, it ought to be put on the property tax rolls as a whole for that acquisition. You know, the infiltration system would still be done by the Orton. It's part and parcel of that. But the ownership of that land, and whether or not the board wants to own that on behalf of the Orton will be the question that will be in front of you. This will be contained in.
Wetlands?
Pardon me?
Are you talking about the wetlands?
I'm talking about that 20-acre wetland that lies south of the airport beacon.
That's in CRP.
That's in a wetland CRP program.
Can that be taken out?
We would keep it in that program. What we would do is we would have to buy out Riyadh's.
No, could Riyadh put that into production?
No, not for 13 years.
Well, if it's a wetland, how do they put it in production to begin with?
Well, it used to be in production. At one point in time, it was farmed. You get a tile system underneath of it. And most years, you might get a crop off of it. Except in very wet years.
But it's in CRP right now
It's
for
in
13
CRP
more years.
For 13 years. That's the information I have from Ida.
Can he
Once
take it out,
comes
can he take it out prior to that?
I don't
13
think
years?
so,
It's gotta-
not without paying NRCS back. I mean, right now, he's making an income annually off of that property. That would be part of the compensation package if we choose to.
So if we bought that prior to, within that 13-year period, it would mean that we'd guarantee it forever, I guess, to be a wetland.
We would guarantee that would be a wetland and a part of the Orton Slough. It would be part of their property just as they have an easement right. Just as we're acquiring right of way for the open ditch, those will be properties owned by the slough, just as the farmers own easements for their drainage.
Have you looked at how many acres were lost because of that huge rain? Is it 500?
I've really been busy enough with getting road requests done, or road repair requests done, that I haven't taken a look at that, but it was sizable. You know, just looking at that area immediately north of the slough, there was probably close to 120 acres that wasn't available to be planted, and that's just going up Benton Avenue east of 75, and then the area that immediately lies south of the airport beacon.
That was huge.
Okay, quite so, yeah. I think the aerial showed that, all that brown ground surrounded by green. And,
Yeah.
and some of the green is not the healthiest looking corn I've ever seen either. You know,
Just
I
ground
don't
it
know if
out.
it'll produce any years. Reminded me of one other topic, but I lost that one, so we went back to the other question there. We have our pre-construction meeting today on the Highway 75 project, so next week I should have information on the Knife River plans to start that.
Okay.
Gonna screw up the rest of the road.
Good.
Yeah, I remember a cartoon where there was some highway engineers around a blackboard and you saw this convoluted mess up on the board. And they said, and if we close this exit, nobody will be able to get out.
That's like the DOT is saying the thing. But we had this meeting, if you could check into that CRP, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
13 years, I think 10 years, you know, they're going out for quite a while now.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it might be different because it's a wetland program, but
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think the wetland program's a lot different than.
I will double check that. That was the number that I was given, so
Because it's,
I'm just
It's
repeating.
too bad we couldn't get the NRCS to buy it for us.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
They've done that on occasion.
Well, I know they've, you're talking about Owego.
Well, there's a lot of down in Monona and Harrison.
Oh, that's true too. I know they have quite a few areas like that. But we haven't seen a offer to do that yet. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Good report. Okay, item number 7, hearing of any individual or group who wish to make a presentation on an item not on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh.
I've got a concern.
County attorney's gonna get us.
The jail has been pretty full the last couple of weeks.
Yes, it has.
And I wonder if we should get something from the sheriff on how that operation is running over there.
Functioning. Okay,
And we need some kind of report.
okay. Good.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you,
Those are
Heads
John
up.
Lovell's.
the U.S. Attorney's Office has approached me in this district to look at partnering with them to hire a special assistant United States attorney, which would help them specifically with drug cases and high intensity drug cases. They would be responsible for all costs such as salary, benefits, paid leave, that kind of thing. They would have to reimburse us, because essentially, this person, if we agreed to this, would be a county employee for the term of this agreement. These agreements typically last 2 years. They can be terminated by either party, us or the United States Attorney's Office. But they typically run a full 2-year period and then they expire. But they approached us to ask us about that. I don't really know any particulars about the program. I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. I will most likely bring the U.S. Attorney over here to speak with the board once we get everything put together. I'll probably need to speak with the HR department, just to make sure we have everything in order. Someone told me that we've done this before. It must have been prior to my times, because I haven't been around when it was done. But I know of other
I
counties.
can't, maybe Larry can remember, but I can't think of a,
I don't know.
Why would they do that?
Just so that they get an extra body, they get a grant for it, so it's paid, so it's just an extra employee, as long as we have that agreement. So essentially, they get an extra body to prosecute more cases, and then they get the funding for it. So it would be monies in addition to their budget now. But they have to have this partnership in order to get that done.
They can probably hire an additional person, but they can fund an additional person.
That's essentially what it is. So, but we just gotta make sure that we have everything in line to get it done. I don't know if we're responsible for interviewing that person. I would assume they would be a part of that
I was
as well.
wondering that too.
But I just wanted to make you guys aware that that's what they're asking us to.
Would we provide this, office space and that kind of thing?
That's one of the things that I'm not sure. I don't know if this person's gonna be housed here or at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't know. Again, they just approached me. They gave me an agreement that they have with Lynn County, I believe, is working with them on a similar thing.
Okay,
So we just need to look and see
all
what
right,
it is.
sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Board members, any
Actually,
issues?
one more thing here.
All right, Mark?
It was the thing that popped out of my head when we went back to ordinance look. I saw a national headline today that Federal Highway Administration put $330 million toward the states that had flood damage, so.
Good.
It looks like, we might have some funding coming along for the work on our major collectors. We've, sent in a number of our just, what do they call them, DDIR. They're a disaster report where we do our assessment and tell them how much it's going to cost to cure on these areas. We've already tabulated 250,000. We've only got the first 10 done.
Is that right? Wow.
There, we have 36 in all. So we'll be seeing quite a bit of work coming late this fall.
Okay,
We're gonna
good.
try and get these projects cranked through just as quickly as.
Fantastic, good, good, good.
That was a little good news this
Yeah,
morning.
it is good news. Anything else? I entertain a motion to adjourn then. Okay, thank you.
Myself, but trying to get a break at, like every once in a while, we just do a tour, and also we might just want a shirt. So I just wondered, have you ever done it in the past, you have a closet somewhere? Kind of neat. Let me see. What, like marketplace, and, I mean, could you guys get like a screen set?
Karen came in last Friday. Was it our office or
Okay.
social service office?
Shy of what it is.
I mean, sheriff's was about half, it was 65.
And it looked like
Can you
a
back onto that, but it's probably
computer screen.
too bad. I was thinking as I was looking at Mark's shirt, I was like, oh, I might have like a gold shirt. Yeah, and or would we do a tour, or,
They verified that,
yes, and I don't
was the
have
amount that was on the paper,
Paper,
but they said that, they can't disclose.
but yeah, that'd be fine, but let's do a screen up.
Or it has this.
Okay.
Whatever. Yep. We can provide it.